Hey everybody, welcome to another video of Kurt's Cuddly Dog Howloween month. Today we're going to talk about 3 episodes instead of the usual 2 episodes. So we're going to be doing Heads of Beef, Klub Katz, The Revenge of the Secret from Outer Space, During the Sun of Nowhere, Muriel, and The Great Fusilli. So let's get started with Heads of Beef. So the episode opens up with Muriel, Eustace, and Kurtz all sitting around, except for Muriel, who has, I guess, has the flu. So Eustace asks her to get her something to eat, but obviously with her being sick, she can't cook anything. So him and Kurtz goes out. Well, he goes out to get her a scone. And she tells Kurtz to go along with him because she knows he will forget to get the right stuff. On the way there, but instead, first Eustace tells him they're going to go get hamburgers first. So they stop at this little diner kind of place, and it's ran by a pig. I'm not kidding. It's ran by a pig. This pig wants Eustace and Kurtz for his creation. That's not what you think. I'll talk about that in a minute. So, Bald is sitting waiting for the supper, for the hamburger, which Eustace gets this big, juicy hamburger, by the way, and he asks a small hamburger for Kurtz. So while they're waiting, this guy that was in there before them asks for, I guess, the bathroom, and the pig goes, "Oh, what through there?" So anyway, he says his name is French, but even though he isn't French. So as the episode goes on, they both get the hamburger, and Kurtz picks up, but ketchup on his. But you wouldn't believe what it looks like. It looks like the head of the guy. It doesn't look exactly like the head of the guy. It looks like the face of the guy that was in there before. So Kurtz, being curious, goes down and sees them making a hamburger out of the sky. So he goes back up, tries to warn Eustace, but gets knocked away, and the pig, and by the way, is this John Bond. So John Bond tells him, "Oh, you're ready." So he takes him downstairs to meet his wife, which obviously likes the little dogs. So he goes down there, and he sees the pig, the wife, eating some kind of figure. We don't know what the figure looks like. All we know is it might be the guy who they had before. So, Kurtz finally goes back upstairs, running through the door, and tries to warn Eustace again, but he knocks him away, and then Kurtz runs back out with the woman pig coming after him. Then they cut to Kurtz and Muriel sitting at home, and she says, "Don't worry, Kurtz. Eustace always gets lost when he goes up for scolds." And we cut back to Eustace, the guy before, and the 2 pigs, who obviously aren't eating the guy. But obviously, and they want, and they're just throwing sculptures of stuff made out of meat. And then, of course, the one pig says, "I still want to see my teeth in that little dog." Which we can make it out as we want. Alright, next up is Klub Katz. So Klub Katz starts out with them Muriel looking at a brochure to a trip on a cruise. And Eustace is like, "I'm not getting out of this chair." So they get on the cruise, and he's like, nope, not get out of this chair. And sitting there and playing bingo. But Courage gets seasick. So he tries to look for places to throw up. And he finds this thing. I never realized that it was part of the ship until I seen this episode. So he throws up in it, and the captain's down there, he's like, oh, the engines are gunked up with something icky. And they come up upon this iceberg. Iceberg! And they start running off the ship. And then they hit it, and everything's fine. It's like, oh, go back to your lives. And then a big old tidal wave comes out to them. Like, tidal wave! And they all, get on the lifeboats except for Eustace, Muriel, and Courage. So they shipwreck on an island, and you hear the familiar song from before when we first met Katz. So next day he comes, and he tells them, welcome to the Klub, Katz. I'm Katz. And he decides to let them stay in there, and he's like, yeah, I have a luxury spa and everything, and he asks them for their luggage. They're like, we don't have any luggage. Select it all. He's like, come to the spa. You'll be transformed. So, they go to the spa, and obviously Eustace is looking for a chair which he lost in the shipwreck. I'm not going to tell you what happens until later. So, they come up to this spa, and again, since he's a cat, no dogs are allowed. So Courage is tied up outside yet again. And as he waits outside, he hears all this commotion going on inside. I don't know, wait. He goes to a soda machine. And the soda machine opens his little flap and goes, never come and go and never come back. And it's the captain of the ship. And after Courage runs away, he put chains in there. He's like, don't you want to root beer? He goes back, and he starts hearing noises, and eventually Muriel and Eustace come out as a washing machine and a wrecking ball. Yeah. So they come back. So Courage swallows him and gets locked out. Obviously, they go into the Coliseum, where Katz puts on a fight between two transformed humans. So Courage decides, okay, goes in the spa and gets transformed as well into a helicopter. In which Eustace, he goes back in there and watches as the fight goes on, and finally saves Muriel. And as he does, Katz says, hey, that's my washing machine. And Eustace sees that the chair that Katz is sitting on is actually his chair. It's like, hey, that's my chair. He goes, and Katz says, finders keepers. And Eustace wrecks his chair and goes, now look what you made me do. Wreck my chair, will I? And as the episode ends, they get back on the ship, and Courage gets seasick yet again. Alright, the next episode we're going to talk about is The Revenge of the Chicken from Outer Space. Just when you thought the chicken from outer space was dead, he's back. So the episode begins as he's flying around the world trying to out his new invention, which is a plunger on different things. From a little gold doll, to a mannequin, to the Statue of Liberty. And what's he do with it? He pops heads off of things. And what's his plan? Take Courage's head and put on his own. Since, he's only just a roast chicken. So he gets to the farmhouse, and Kurt sees him. He's like, "Oh!" And the chicken, like, he's ready to kill him and get revenge on him. So he closes the door. Muriel's like, oh, and by the way, he wakes up Muriel and Eustace, which, Eustace gets really mad at him. And then she goes downstairs, and she's like, that's it. No more living for you. And then they go back. She goes back outside, and the chicken grabs her. And then he sits her, but then when Kurt walks out, he starts hearing noises in the barn, and as soon as he walks in, the chicken is standing there. He points at him, and Kurt puts up the sign like, huh? Like, and he says, what happened before? And he says, on the chair, now. And he points at the chair like, now. He's like, make me! And he reveals that he has Muriel on a chair with a plunger to her head. So he starts, trying to rip her head off. And so, Kurt goes back outside. And by the way, this is stupid. It's plugged in. I mean, okay, I get it. It's a cartoon, but come on. And then, so he goes back outside and finds Eustace, and he's in bed asleep. He says, after trying to get him to come with him, he smacks him on the head with a slipper, and he runs out to him. Of course, they go back. He sees Muriel like in the chair, getting her head suctioned off, and then Kurt bites it in half, and then the plug. And then he tries to go back inside, and Eustace now gets captured. And Eustace gets his head ripped off by the chicken. By the way, he, both Kurt size everything. He both torches it, and then finally he comes out, and Eustace's head is on the chicken. So they start, him and Muriel he starts running Muriel across the throat, and she wants tea, and then eventually the chicken comes back out, and it follows him, and he basically tries to make him fall up the line, but it's so close to the ground, he just lets go. And then the chicken goes back to his spaceship and starts following them all the way to a missile site where he plunges off there and launches a missile. And then blows himself up. So technically it's not Kurtz's fault this time. No, stupid dog. And then at the end of the episode, they are sitting at home. Him and Muriel are sitting at home, and she says, "Oh, there's Eustace with my slipper." And Kurt screams and looks at the camera and pulls it back out, just like before. Says, "This still shouldn't happen to a dog." And the episode ends. All right, next one we're going to talk about is, I think, Journey to the Center of Nowhere. So Journey to the Center of Nowhere starts out with Muriel tending to a eggplant that she had recently started growing. So these eggplants angered that there's a drought, and of course, before that, actually, there's no water in the pump. So Muriel tells Eustace to dig up a new one, which he turns to Kurt and tells it, "You heard a dog! Get digging!" So he does, and he finds out a plot of eggplants who, by the way, are planning to go to the surface world to stop Muriel. And they have a little spy camera in the eggplant that's being grown by Muriel. How the one that works, I don't know. So they plot to get revenge on her, and then Curtis goes back out and tries to warn them, and Muriel says, "You're right, Curtis. I know what you're saying about. Yeah, of course you can have some." Of course, eventually Curtis gets knocked back down by Eustace after being told, "I thought I told you to dig." And by the way, the eggplants can't go until they've gotten word from the great eggplant. And by this time, since he's pantomiming, Courage now has an eggplant suit. So they think he's the great eggplant. And it's funny. So he starts to tell them to start doing things like running around circles, going, whoa, 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 whoa. And let's see. I think there's one where he makes him bounce on the rump. I don't know all the things, and then he says, "Now," Eggplant says, "Do this." And he says, "Now, do this." And the eggplant start doing it, and like, "You didn't say," great eggplant says, "Wow, smart eggplants." And then he said, "No, now we know we're ready." And Kurt tries to persuade them to go after the stores which sell eggplant. But by the time he turns around, they realize he's not the great eggplant at all. He's not even a good eggplant, as the leader says. So they decide to go to the surface world. By the way, they tying up Courage. And then they go up to the surface and put Eustace in the ground. After he says, "I hate eggplants." And so, Courage is like, and so we get back to Courage, who's still down there in the vines, who sucks in all the air and goes back up. Eventually, he starts digging around, and he decides to go back down and get water. Of course, after being told by the computer, the only reason why the eggplants are angry is because there's not enough water. So he decides to go looking for water, and he starts digging around. And he finds water. He's like, "Yes!" And so he takes it up there, and starts pumping it up. And by the way, at this point, the eggplants are arguing between frying her or grilling her. And one of them says, "Hey, why not bake her?" So Courage comes back up, starts pumping the water, and the water comes out, and the eggplants start taking root. And they finally agree to not kill Muriel, thanks to Courage's quick thinking. So Muriel says, "I can't eat a bunch of eggplants." So they take her to a fair, and they win first prize, with Eustace winning second prize. Alright, the next episode we're going to talk about is Little Muriel. Now, Little Muriel is not about a monster, but about basically Muriel becoming younger. So what happens, you might ask? Well, what happens is Muriel and Courage is painting the rocking chair, with quick drying paint. or so we think. And so they think, too. And Muriel sits in the chair, and then there's a weather alert. It says there's a tornado warning. And so Courage tries to get Muriel help Muriel get out of the rocking chair, and and they find out that Courage didn't use fast drying paint. It's fast drying glue. So the tornado's coming. They knock out Eustace, who's downstairs still working on something like, I think it's a light. And then Muriel gets stuck in the tornado. And by the time Courage gets her out there, she's younger. So, and I think this is one of my favorite season finales of the series. Because this is probably the funniest I've seen Muriel. Although, there have been a couple of episodes where she's even funnier. So, she's whiny, she's always complaining about something. And so, one point she wants candy, she wants to go to the store, and she starts bugging Eustace. Like, huh? Who are you? And she knocks him out again. The next part, she asks for back. She says she's hungry. So, Courage makes macaroni and cheese. A kid's favorite, right? So, he starts making it, and she's like, more cheese! And then he makes it again and goes, more macaroni. I don't like it. You see, well, what's wrong? More cheese! And then he goes make it again and he goes, more macaroni. And he makes it again. He goes, that's macaroni! She goes, that's cheese! And then he comes back with it and she says, more macaroni and cheese! And he goes back and he goes, perfect! He slaps it out of his head and he goes, I hate macaroni and cheese. Hold up. I don't remember what part of the episode it was, but there's a part of the episode where Courage says, go to your room! And she's like, I don't want. She'll start crying. He goes, it's okay, okay? And she brings out Eustace's mask. Goes, look what I found. He goes, oh my God. The only time that's funny, I think. So Courage looks up, asks the computer, how can she be turned back to normal? And the only way to do that is by finding a tornado that goes in reverse, which can only be found in the South. It's funny. So he takes her on a plane, and he said, and she starts trying to pass it. The entire crew batty. They all leave. So it's up to Courage to fly her over there, and they find a tornado that goes spins in the other direction. He drops her, and by the way, by the time she starts complaining about being hungry, being, I think, dizzy, and being nauseous, she's going to blow chunks. And so, Courage drops her in, and eventually she becomes regular Muriel again. They fly home, knock poor Eustace again, and then the weather service comes up and says, that a tornado, that's that. Now all I have to worry about is a flood come over the plane! And he's right in the back of Eustace, you see, with Muriel with him, and he goes, crazy weather we're having, huh? Alright, the last episode is the Great Fusilli. So Great Fusilli is an episode where this crocodile kind of thing has brought a show stage to nowhere. And so he wants them to act. And of course, Muriel decides to try out her hand at acting. So she says a famous line, "How now, pound cow?" And Eustace comes up, and he's like, "See, she tells her, "See, you're a natural." And she's like, "Well, I did do a little juggling when I was younger." So she starts juggling. Eustace comes back out. Eustace goes up to the stage. He's like, "Muriel, you'll make yourself look like a fool." So this is all stuff he's juggling. He says, "See, you're natural." So he takes them back, gives them big hands, and powders them. Usual stuff. And they decide that he decides the curse goes out and tries out his hand at stuff. And Fusilli's like, "Oh, you're a natural." And he goes, "Now you'll come to me." And so during this, at one point, they put on an act, and Fusilli says, "Now, Fusilli." And so, Kurtz, before this, gets hit with a pie. He goes back there, and he finds all these puppets. They're not puppets. They're real people. And he finds out that there are three hooks for him, Eustace, and Muriel. And by the time he comes back out, Fusilli is starting to work his magic and brings down these boats so he can look like puppets. We're making puppets. And Fusilli, basically starts chasing cards around, and he winds up in the powder that he was using before. And then he goes out and starts messing with them like, puppets. So Curtis goes back out, and he's white. And Fusilli tells me, "Leave them alone." And he looks at me, he's like, "It's a phantom! A phantom!" And obviously, Phantom of the Opera. And he scares him off the edge, and he looks up towards down, and he goes, "Oh, no, pound cow." He says it again after he becomes a puppet. So, the episode ends with Curtis basically making Eustace and Muriel do their thing as puppets. And that ends the episode. So, that is the end of season 1. Next time, we're going to see season 2. Which starts off with the first 2 episodes, which are The Magic Tree of Nowhere, What About Randy, The Curse of Shirley, and Kurtz in the Big Stinking City. We'll see you guys tomorrow with those 4 episodes. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the next start of the next season, season 2.